Most people try to study by forcing themselves through mental resistance, hoping for a burst of willpower. But motivation is an emotional state, making it an unreliable foundation for consistent work. Focus is a chemical process. When the right neurotransmitters are present, your neural pathways send targeted signals that allow you to ignore distractions and maintain attention on a single task. We are going to build a study addiction loop. This is a real-time build-along tutorial that you will complete before this video ends. Pause the video now and gather your materials: the subject you're studying, a timer, a glass of water, and one specific physical reward you will have later. Gathering these items immediately removes the friction of starting. By having everything in reach, you eliminate the small decisions and physical movements that the brain often uses as excuses to procrastinate. Take a drink of that water now. Then, place your chosen rewards somewhere visible but out of reach, as you'll be using it to signal the end of the session. Your brain is a biological organ that consumes roughly 20% of your daily energy. If you are dehydrated, sleep-deprived, or poorly nourished, the hardware lacks the basic resources needed to maintain the chemical reactions we're about to trigger. Two chemicals drive this process. Acetylcholine marks learning neurons, while norepinephrine narrows your focus. Then there is dopamine. It isn't pleasure itself, it is expectation. It signals the brain to pursue goals based on anticipating a future reward. Understanding these chemicals allows you to stop fighting your brain and start working with its natural requirements. When your biology is primed, concentration becomes a much more manageable task. Step 2 is environmental. Clear your physical desk of everything except your study materials, your water, and your timer. On your computer, use the one-tab rule. Every open tab is a potential distraction that pulls at your limited attention. Close everything except the single page you are currently working on. Create a dedicated focus environment. By using the exact same location, lighting, and physical setup every time you study, you are building a spatial cue for your brain. This consistency trains your nervous system to recognize where it is. Eventually, the act of sitting in this specific environment will trigger a shift into focus mode automatically. We now have to bypass the brain's overwhelm response. Large, vague goals like Master Chapter 5 trigger a stress response that makes you want to avoid the task entirely. To counter this, write down a task so small it feels almost effortless, like read one paragraph. Next to that task, draw a large, empty checkbox. Checking that box provides an immediate visual signal of progress. This small win provides the feedback your brain needs to stay engaged, rather than drifting into boredom. The hardest part of any session is the first 3 minutes. By microsizing the start, you build the initial momentum needed to sustain the rest of the session. Set your timer for exactly 25 minutes. Active learning requires physical and mental output. Passively reading often leads to mental drift, but physically engaging keeps the brain in high alertness. Try explaining a concept out loud as if you were teaching it, or summarize a page by drawing a diagram. These methods force your brain to process and reorganize the information. When you engage with a task at a medium difficulty level without distractions, you enter a flow state. This is where your perception of time shifts and your focus becomes effortless. This high-effort engagement is what actually rewires the brain. The struggle to understand and summarize is the signal that tells your neurons to strengthen their connections. When your 25-minute timer rings, stop immediately. Step away from your desk, but do not check your phone or any screens. Scrolling through social media provides a high burst of dopamine. If you do this during a break, the subsequent return to studying will feel exhausting, because the brain is suddenly being deprived of that high stimulation input. Stick to low stimulation activities during your 5-minute rest. Stretching, walking, or deep breathing allows your neurochemistry to reset without overstimulating your reward system. This is the dopamine funnel. A low stimulation break ensures the brain views the study session as the path to the final reward. This creates a loop, associating studying's effort with the neurochemical release of the reward. Utilizing a low dopamine break allows you to manage your own reward system, making the study session feel like a productive build-up toward a satisfied conclusion. Look at your workspace. Your materials are ready, your environment is clear, and you have a specific plan for your first 25 minutes. You have successfully built a 4-part system: a start cue, a small win, visible progress, and a final reward. This shift is more than just a new schedule. You are adopting the habits of someone who understands their own neurobiology and treats their growth with professional precision. Now, go ahead and press start on your timer, read your first paragraph, and check that first box. Real progress comes from the daily momentum of this biological loop. You have the tools and the setup. The only thing left to do is begin.